So yeah, so I hands off to Cornelia to do the ice breaking while people start joining, and then we carry on.
All right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for attending today's social entrepreneurship panel. I will be doing the icebreaker questions. So let's see if I can put this in the chat. So this link in the chat, I would invite everybody to open it and hopefully it'll work. Yeah, let me know if you can see the slide.
I can see it. It's okay.
Can you see it?
Yep.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll begin the first poll. So what motivates you to connect with other people? Hopefully people will be able to answer this question, and then it'll appear in the active poll.
So should I enter it in the polls or the Q&A? In the poll, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
Might need to continue like updating people as new people join as well. Letting
Okay,
in more
cool.
people.
Yeah, for sure. So the link is in the chat for everybody. I can send it again as well. Okay, cool. So what motivates people to connect with others? So far, it seems like the exchange of ideas, power in other people, networking, friendship, learning, collaboration. Oh, to be human. That sounds cool. All right, it seems like everybody's answered the poll. So I think we'll move on to the next question. Oh, one more participant typing. All right. Okay, that's a great collection of ideas. All right, we're going to move on to the next question, which is, why are you interested in social entrepreneurship? All right, it seems like we have a lot of similarities between a lot of these answers. To be a good human, to solve problems is another one. To change the world, to contribute good. And I think it's interesting once we start to answer these questions because, oh, generational impact, that's also a really good one. Because I'm not that familiar with social entrepreneurship myself, even being an Oregon Entrepreneurs Network intern and all. And I was interested in learning from Andrés and the rest of the panel what social entrepreneurship actually means. And so I think these icebreaker questions are a good way to get everyone acquainted with each other and to kind of figure out, oh, we actually do have a lot of similarities in where we're at with this topic. All right, this last question is just for fun. So if you had an unlimited budget and resources, how would you combine purpose and profit to help uplift communities? This one's kind of a tough one, so I don't expect too much of an answer since there's a word limit as well. But do your best. I like the answer that says government has this. But right, so despite not everyone having unlimited budget and resources, in fact, not I don't think anybody really has unlimited budget and resources for this kind of thing. But I think in social entrepreneurship, it's interesting to see what kind of ideas that people want to do, because not all of these are the same. They're quite different actually, and people's ideas to combine purpose and profit to help uplift communities. And so it's important for people to work together in times like this, and really focus on the social aspect of things in order to create a kind of community that includes all of these different ways to change the world and to solve problems and contribute good, as in the previous question. So with that, I think I'll hand it off to Andres or the rest of the panel, depending on what's next. Yeah, thank you so much for answering the poll. It was great to hear everyone's thoughts.
Thanks, Cornelia. That was really interesting. I liked a lot of those questions, very thought-provoking. So I just wanted to welcome everybody. This is an OEN panel on social entrepreneurship, which is really exciting. We're bringing this to you courtesy of our fellow Andrés, who is leading this. Andrés has his own nonprofit organization, and he'll introduce himself a little bit later. But I wanted to start by just kind of giving everyone a bit of an intro to OEN, the Oregon Entrepreneurs Network. If you're not that familiar with what we do, we are a nonprofit that supports entrepreneurs in Oregon and Southwest Washington by helping connect them to the resources that help them to grow their businesses. So that includes networking opportunities, it includes educational programs, it includes opportunities to access capital through our angel investment programs. And, you know, what we do best is just bringing together the entire entrepreneurial ecosystem. And that includes all industries, but especially early stage entrepreneurs. So there's definitely a lot of overlap with social entrepreneurship, and we're really excited to be able to kind of feature this topic. I wanted to just shout out a couple of our upcoming events that are coming up soon. Just in this month, we have 2 events. We have one next week, which is a great opportunity to learn about the non-dilutive funding landscape and to network. That's our June Pub Talk. That's on Wednesday, June 14th at 5:15. The first hour is for networking, and it's always like a really fun, lively event. I just posted the link to register in the chat, but highly recommend attending that one. We also have our AO Tech Grand Finale and Innovation Showcase on June 22nd. This is a great opportunity to learn about all these amazing local technology companies that are doing really incredible things, and also just to connect with investors and service providers. And, you know, it's multi-part, it's like educational. There's going to be a panel on ag tech as well, but it's also just a good opportunity to connect with the local ecosystem. And I will drop that link in the chat as well. And then lastly, we have, if there's any food and beverage entrepreneurs in the audience, we have our Oregon Angel Food program that is launching in July. And it starts with an 8-week virtual education series that spans a wide variety of content. It's all about kind of the pain points of scaling and investment readiness. So the topics include scaling for distribution, what investors want, sales strategy, marketing, and e-commerce. So really valuable content. I highly recommend signing up if you're a food and beverage maker at any stage of your business. And then there's also going to be a big marketplace that we're doing September 23rd. So you can also be a part of that if you're a food and beverage maker. So I shared that link as well, but there's opportunities to sign up for both opportunities there. And I think that's it. So I will hand it off now to Andrés and get this panel started. Thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you so much, all the panelists to be here. And thank you so much to the audience to come and join this experience on learning how you can use business models to solve human problems. That is a topic I'm very passionate about and I have been focused for the last 10 years. And just before introducing the panelists, I will just give a very 1-2 minute intro on social entrepreneurship. So we are all on the same page on what are we talking about. And then the panelists will share their own experiences with different models in different countries, in different parts of the world. We have people here from Pakistan, from Thailand, from Japan, from Bangladesh, from Canada, from Vietnam, from Chile, from Mexico, sharing their experiences on how to use these different models to solve human problems and environmental problems. And I've been lucky to meet all of them in person in different parts of the world in different projects. So I'm excited to share, you know, all these experiences. Oh, they will share the experiences with all of us. So, but just very briefly, sorry for that. Here. So just very briefly to build us in the same page. So yeah, we started an NGO and as a dream called the Foundation for the Global Benefit. We started 4 years ago and we incorporated in Mexico, and now we are incorporated in the United States this year. So we are very excited to grow and do very interesting stuff focused on social entrepreneurship. So if you want to know more about that, just feel free to join, to look at the website. When you talk about social entrepreneurship, like there are so many buzzwords and things here and there of impact investment and then social innovation and for-profit, non-for-profit, hybrid models and stuff like that. And I definitely don't want to bore you, you know, defining all of this stuff, but I just want to make it simple and straightforward for us to kind of like narrow things down. First of all, we have like a spectrum of organizations. There are spectrums, some organizations that are focused on social value, some organizations that are focused on financial value. And then in the middle, we have the spectrum of social entrepreneurship and social enterprises, where you mix the best of both worlds. And then you still have a spectrum. Some of them are more mission-driven, but for-profit and still. and some of them are less for profit, but more for solving the problems. And I'm not saying one is right or the other is wrong. I'm just saying there are different models that might be able to adapt to different contexts and legal structures and countries and everything. So the good thing that we have options and choices, and then we can use those choices and options to adapt them to our local context. Also following Professor Muhammad Yunus, the social businesses are the ones who, a social business, according to Professor Muhammad Yunus, is a non-dividend company created to solve a human problem. And the key is the non-dividend part, that the purpose was created to solve the problem, and every profit and money keep growing to solve this problem, to expand the company. And also mentioning from other perspective of Ashoka, which is an international organization that supports social entrepreneurs worldwide. You can make it like you have change making or making change, positive change in the world. And then you have social innovation. And then when you put a business model to that social innovation, then it becomes social entrepreneurship. And then this is like my creation, but I mean the next one. Where is the next one? Yeah. So basically you have social entrepreneurship, and then you make it smaller, social enterprises, and then you have unisocial businesses, right? So all social businesses are social enterprises, but not all social enterprises are social businesses, just to help us kind of like understanding quickly and fast, more or less, how things work. Yeah, if you happen to know Professor Muhammad Yunus won the Nobel Peace Prize in 2006 for poverty eradication, and he said poor people are bonsai people. So if you have the tree for a very big, a seed for a very big tree, and then you put it in a small pot with poor soil, do you think that seed will grow as big as a tree? No, right? The same happened with the human. Humans who are born maybe in a different zip code with less access to education, to healthcare, to other opportunities to grow and develop themselves. So yeah, that's the base that we follow. Many of these people have worked directly with Professor Yunus for many decades, and they are able to share their experiences. And some of these people do not follow Professor Yunus' philosophy and are giving some experience of, there are other ways to make great impact in the world, and not just this social business model. There are also different models like the B Corp that Sebastian is sharing. So yeah, thank you so much for being here. Yeah, follow us in our website, and also this is our website if anyone wants to know more information. Great. So I will move forward to introduce briefly the panelists, and then give them each one of them 1 minute after I introduce them to give a little bit of their experience, and then we go to the second round. Okay. I will start by introducing Dr. Faiz Shah, who's the executive director of the Yunus Center AIT and the co-founder and president of the Yunus Thailand Foundation. Dr. Faiz has worked for more than 30 years in sustainable development all around the world. And I was lucky to work with him for a couple of years. And thank you to him, I expanded my vision of the world, and I'm very excited to have him here with us. Thank you so much, Dr. Faiz, for being here. Tell us more about your work.
Great. Well, thank you for the invitation, and I'm really excited to be here too, Para. My introduction is about 45 years long, so it's not going to be easy to give, but let me just say how delighted I am to be in Oregon with you, because I have an association with Oregon going back to 1983, when as a student I was touring the US on a Greyhound bus, and I ended up in Salem, Oregon. And since then, the association grew when I worked as a partner to Nike in Asia, and trips to Beaverton a couple of times a year were a delight to make. Other than that, I've had a kind of a parallel career as a teacher and as an entrepreneur. So as a teacher, I now am a professor of social business at Al-Bukhari International University in the School of Business and Graduate and Social Studies. I also teach at the Asian Institute of Technology and head up the Yunus Center here, and run 2 master's programs on social entrepreneurship and social business. So that's the academic side. But on the entrepreneurial side, I started rather early, still a student, and a serial business setter up, and some of them succeeded, a couple of them didn't. but ended up heading up the world's largest soccer company with more than 8,000 employees and sites spanning 14 countries. So it's been a very interesting journey in that I've kind of swung between doing business and then telling other people how to do it and perhaps not what to do, etc. So it's not entrepreneurship as such. It's basically the experience of creating wealth that is important for businessmen. And the wealth creation in itself is a science. You just can't get in there and start creating wealth. That's why business education is so important. That's why experiencing entrepreneurship is so important. And so I think only when you have done it yourself, failed a few times, succeeded a few times, can you actually teach entrepreneurship and business. And we've driven a wedge between entrepreneurship and business. I think that is a convenient distinction, but it's not really. Entrepreneurship is about making money. Now, what you do with that money is what makes a business a social business or not a social business. So I think that's the kind of introduction I'd like to begin with, and it also segues into perhaps your next question that you might throw at my direction.
Thank you, Dr. Faiz, for the introduction. Also, thank you to Bill Davis for sharing their a very interesting link with every one of us. For Sebastian for the reminder of the time. So yeah, I will try to catch up on time and give the introduction right away to Dr. Sheer, who is leading the Social Tech Lab in Kyushu University and also is executive director of the SBAN, is the Social Business Academia Network in Japan. And I was lucky to be there a couple of times in the International Conference in Social Enterprise, in healthcare and social business, running a workshop there and also working with him for 1 month training in facilitation skills and learning some deep research skills. Thank you, Dr. Shi, for being here. Can you share us about your work?
Yeah, thank you very much, Parra. It's nice to see all the known faces as well, Dr. Faiz and Mai Tai. Thank you. So I am in Japan now. I teach in a university. Kyushu University is on the southern part of Japan. We have 22,000 students, 2,000 faculty members, quite a big one. We have a social business research center in Kyushu University, established in 2011. We have a long relationship with Grameen since 2007, almost like 15, 16 years. We have been working with Grameen to learn the philosophy of Professor Yunus, study his philosophy and implement and teach and also incubate social business in Japan as well. So my background is I'm a technologist, ICT, information communication technology. My research is how we can utilize this power of ICT for a special purpose, like how we can create or solve social problems and create micro entrepreneurs. That's Professor Yunus's dream as well. So with this, I will end my introduction. Thank you. Looking forward to listening from others as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ashir, for being concise and for helping entrepreneurs grow. And his work in developing technology for social projects is amazing. So maybe I can share you the link of every one of the panelists in a moment with you guys, so you can learn more about their work over there. And then Dr. Mai, who's from my second home, Vietnam, but is now working as the director of Social Business Creation, which is a global platform to support social entrepreneurs around the world. And yeah, the global event, it's actually next week, and hopefully I'll be there for a little bit. So thank you, Dr. Mike, for making time. Please share us about your impact that you're making all around the world.
Thank you very much for the very nice introduction. It's my honor to be in this panel. I'm very, very happy to see the like-minded people. We are here because we are interested in social entrepreneurship. We're interested in making impact through entrepreneurial action. And at Social Business Creation, we strive to revolutionize the way we teach entrepreneurship. And I can't agree more with Professor Faiz. about the need to find a more innovative way to teach entrepreneurship and use experiential learning method to help students learn entrepreneurship by doing and not just going to school and read books. And entrepreneurship is a most practical disciplines in all of the disciplines that we have at school. So we can't claim to be entrepreneurs by just reading books. We have to be there, done that, to really learn the profession, the trade. And social business creation was created in 2016 as a small competition for students to demonstrate how it is possible to create impacts at a young age when the students start their career. And since then, we've been growing steadily every year. And now we have become a global platform for collaboration between learners. So through the competition platform, between business people and practitioners, and then the students, also through the learning platform and the competition. We also connect researchers. So we have conferences, and we have a lot of training of the trainers. And then we are also working toward creating our own journal, which will be called International Journal of Social Businesses. So it is an open invitation for you. If you're an academic, you wanted to join our founding editorial board, please drop me a line and I will put my email in the chat just in case you want to contact me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Mai. And I do remember when Professor Muhammad Yunus says about entrepreneurship being very native and very practical to humanity, right? He would say, like, before, humans would not go on trying to find a job. They would just find a way to bring the resources for their families and from the communities. And I think that's a very nature that we have been doing that for millions of years. And that's why now Sebastián Salinas is a perfect introduction for Sebastián Salinas, who is a practitioner and entrepreneur himself, who has been doing social entrepreneurship for more than a decade, and who's helping local communities all around Chile and many countries in Latin America to thrive. So it was a gift to be one of his fellows in Balloon Chile, now Balloon Latam, in 2014 in Valle de Colchagua. It changed my life. It was the foundation for gaining capacity on how to do this in the practical level. And I'm glad he's now here sharing his work and experiences with all of us. Thank you, Sebastián.
Well, hi all. Thank you, Andrés, for the invitation. So happy to be here and share experience around the world. I'm based in Chile. We define in Balloon as a B Corp that we have been working in rural communities in Latin America. Social innovation happens when social relations change. And that's the definition that we use. And everything of the methodology, all the programs, all the process is based on changing social relation. This movement of different people from different contexts, when you make that mix or you create social capital, is one of the gains that we expect to do by working in social innovation. As you were saying, the fellowship program that has been running since 2013 now is taking about what Mike was saying. It's now a social innovation program that is certified by one of the best universities in Chile, Catholic University, and it's 76 hours of training and 300 hours of field work. So it's a master of social development with a lot of community work. So imagine that applies hundreds of people every year to this program, and now is developing different parts of Latin America. So now for us in Balloon, we work based in rural communities, develop local project. And why we do this? Because we know that the economy in these places is seasonal. So everyone is entrepreneur, has something to do, an idea. So that is the mix or the first step that we get to get in the community and help them to develop this business in different ways. So I believe to take to the time 1 minute. So thank you for for this introduction.
Thank you for keeping it brief, Sebastian. I was about to share your link here, but I kind of like made a mistake. So now there you go. That's the Balloon Latam website and also the EmpreDM website, and I will share the rest of the panelists' website with you guys so you can follow them and see their impact. But Sebastian is a person to go if you want to connect with local leaders and entrepreneurs, social entrepreneurs from all over Latin America. He has he's nurtured a network and a Latin American community all around the place. So if you are interested in something, just knock him up. And last but not least, Janice Valadez, who is kind of like my sister in social entrepreneurship. She started this before me, maybe like 12 years ago in Monterrey, Mexico, with her project called IDACE, I Design as a Social Entrepreneur. And now she leads the UNU Center in Monterrey, and also she has her own consulting agency and is really connected in global networks like the Young Change Shapers from the World Economic Forum and the Francesco Economy of the Pope. She was with the Pope last year. So she's doing a lot of great stuff. So please share a little bit of that with us, Janice.
Thank you so much for the time, and it's also amazing to see some familiar faces over here. Well, about a little bit of what I have done and kind of continuing how my colleagues are presenting. I really started when I was in a confusion time, in these 12 years ago. I was super confused when I was doing my professional studies, and I didn't know how to continue doing what makes me happy, that was to collaborate and be with young people, because I was kind of a missionary doing social services and helping like in government collectives and different areas. And then when I was doing the degree, I studied industrial design. I was kind of confused because I was like all the time doing work in the computer, making design, and not having really this connection with communities. So in that time, I start seeing how to connect this part of profit and purpose together to make a professional pathway. So 12 years ago, I was like 21 years old, and I thought I knew a lot of things, and I thought I want to eat the world and I have the power to do a lot of stuff. And that's the moment when I realized that I did have the voice to do something and change what it was different, or what I wanted to be different in my community. So also a little bit of that background. Here in Monterrey, we have a really bad time, and probably many of you know that in 2011, 2012, Mexico had a lot of insecurity issues, and here in Monterrey, we are frontier with the states. We have Texas like 1 hour from here where I live. So being in my degree, having this confusion on how to serve, and having all the security around me with my people, knowing like a lot of people having bad issues and bad life back then. So I started thinking, how can my degree can impulse my own pathway to continue serve? So I learned about social entrepreneurship, not because on my degree I have a class of social entrepreneurship, because Ashoka then was like kind of coming here in Monterrey, and they have one chief officer here. So I started seeing different opportunities with them, and then I have the opportunity to go to Duke University and learn about social entrepreneurship over there. So it was kind of starting connected with people. And one thing that I learned back then, it was how network is powerful to inspire people. So over there, I hear so many stories in Duke, and then I go to Raleigh, in I think it was Durham. So I was kind of hearing many stories, how people connect their professional passion and how to make this impact, and social entrepreneurship was the way of how they could see this. So I was so inspired that coming back to my city, having all this insecurity and hearing all the time bad news, it was kind of starting this ideation process and start seeing what were my tools to start doing the change that I wanted to do. So, well, that's kind of a little bit of my background, a little bit of my start way of doing this not only something that I studied, but also that I can work and live for it and change the world together.
Thank you, Janice, and we can all feel your passion and how committed you are to social entrepreneurship, and how it came from a very personal reason in your local context and the challenges that you were facing, and that's how social entrepreneurship starts. Right? There is a problem, there is a situation that you say like, why does this still exist in my community? Why there is still people living on the streets? Why there is still people like without having enough food to eat, or you name it? And then you say like, yeah, I want to be part of the solution. And then you start doing things. I remember asking Professor Muhammad Junus, like, how did you plan, like how to do this kind of like global microcredit and then social business concept? Like he said, I didn't know. When I started, I just started with one tiny thing and just started taking action. I just started moving forward from the challenges I was facing, and slowly I was, helping, and people were helping me, and then it slowly started growing organically. And I believe that's part of the roots of how things start. So now I will give back the microphone to people, but we will do it more in a free manner. We already share our experiences of what is our work, or context, where we come from, and also for the audience, feel free, you have any questions or anything that you want to know about social entrepreneurship or these interesting panelists and people and practitioners, to put the questions there, and we'll find a way to add them in the conversation. I want this panel to feel more like, oh, we are like in a room all together talking about stories about social entrepreneurship and learning, and not just like, oh, there is just some speakers who are speaking and I don't, that's it. So in kind of like more interactive way. So I think one of the questions I will bring out is like, if you want to share a little bit more of what are some best practices that you have seen in social entrepreneurship models in different parts of the world, and which are the ones that you might be focusing on in your own context. If you anyone who would like to kind of like start and share, feel free, and then just, if we can keep it brief, like 2-3 minutes, and then another person kind of like compliments, and we just keep flowing and having a good conversation. Yes, Sebastian, go for it. Yeah.
Thank you, Andres. One of the principles that I really like is the Socratic principle, is that the people that are going to be affected for one decision has to be part of the creation of that decision. This happens a lot in public policy, for example, that with a lot of big concerns because of centralism, people get different ideas of what people need, but the people that have that need never participate in the process of the creation of that need. And that happened at huge gaps on the permanence of that solution. So one of the best practices that we have in Balloon, we have a model that is called the 3 Ps, PPP. So the P is based on, if you have participation, the participation is going to give pertinence. I don't know if the pertinence is a good translation of pertinencia in English or not. So with participation, you get pertinence. And participation plus pertinence give you permanence, so permanent solutions. So that's one of the most important things for us. So not through the tyranny of the expert. So you need this, and this is what is best for you. Is a bottom-up solutions based on the Socratic principle that people that are going to be affected for one solution be part of the creation of that solution. 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Sebastian. Is there anything? I totally agree with you, like participating and bringing people in, and Sebastian does great jobs doing forums in local communities and bringing entrepreneurs and all kind of sectors and governments and academia and everyone together to solve problems in Chile. It's amazing the way he does. Who would like to build up on this idea? Just feel free to join the conversation. Dr. Mai, I think your microphone is off. Maybe you want to mention something?
Well, maybe I'll just jump in, Para, while Wai's microphone kicks back in. Since we're talking perhaps at the meta level, as Sebastian's rightly said, using the power of local knowledge to augment support and actually construct solutions around is of course an excellent and the way to go, except it's not done as much as we would like it to. The other perhaps at the principal level thing here, again, to endorse this, is to let people who are affected by the problem take the first step. We often see people coming in with relatively less grasp of local situations, knowing a lot about another situation, of course, being very passionate, being very sensible, and trying to apply very sort of templates across. So I endorse the idea of local wisdom guiding them. But my addition to this conversation is that there are certain fundamental tools which do not change, whether you're in one place or another. Tools that have management, talent management, financial management, fiscal management, stewardship, fiduciary responsibility. These are all uniform across any business or social environment. And so if we ignore these, we will ignore them at our peril. So I would like to just reinforce this thought that there are fundamentals of doing business, whether it's a micro business, it's a social business, it's a social enterprise, whatever it is, the fundamentals must be very solidly adhered to and learned to a point where they become second nature to the entrepreneur. Business success in the end is getting repeat business again and again and again. And fundamentals help us construct that repeat business.
Thank you, Dr. Faiz, for that. And I have withstood Dr. Faiz's commitment to the grassroots when we have field trips and work there in Thailand in the local communities with local farmers, and he has done this in many communities around the world. And maybe if anyone wants to share more about best practices, feel free to jump in. But also another maybe topic that can complement is that, okay, but why social entrepreneurship anyway? Yeah, why are we using this platform to solve human problems? But wasn't there any other platform before or models?
Well, actually, may I?
Yes, please.
Oh, okay.
I would invite everyone to
continue with what Faiz said, but from our experience in the competition with our students here, we realize that at first students only look at the problems they want to solve, and they take a very top-down approach. And it's kind of colonial approach as well, thinking that they have the best solution, they know how to do it, and they are of a superior position because they have more knowledge, they have more cash and resources and so on. So they come in to help the poor or the disadvantaged or the beneficiary, thinking that they are better. But then through our competition, we challenge students to come in. Hey, you really need to talk to them. Your approach may not be the best. It's not that they don't know the answer or they cannot find the answer. It's an issue of executions and coordination of resources, and also because of the potential impacts of one solution to another entities in the community. Because sometimes you solve one problem, but at the same time, your solution creates multiple problems for other people around you. So then in some communities, they accept that certain level of problems persist because they have not found a better solution that can really create a net profit. So here we talk about the social profit. So it's not just a profit for a company or an organization. And then then it has to be the profit for the society. And the same way we talk about the net impact. So the impact is not just for one community or the one problem. It has to be the overall impact for the whole society. And we have a lot of examples, students after talking with the communities and try to take a bigger picture. And then they have to really change their solution and approach. so as to minimize the potential negative impact created by the solution to other communities or other groups within the community. Do you want me to give a kind of concrete examples of the project from our students?
Sure, why not? Yeah.
Oh, you want that? Okay, so I give an example about a group of students who wanted to help the poor. And at first, the group of students, before coming to the community, they observe from outside, they see that there is a high level of illiteracy and that. And then they say, oh, okay, these people are poor, they cannot afford education. And so we are going to provide free education. Sounds very good, right? Sounds a very good approach, isn't it? But then when they come to implement that free education, free training in that community, they faced strong reaction against the solution. And then the community there rejected the solution and say, you are bringing in new elements that will create cultural slaughtery. I mean, they want to protect their culture. They don't want to be contaminated by the new ideology. And then they say, so why do you think that your education will be better for the community? And do you know why we are poor? And then after working with the community, they realize that the people in this community are poor economically because of exploitation by the foreign companies that want to exploit the resources. And then why they reject the education, because of the perception that these foreign elements just come in to re-educate them, to make them accept the new norm of exploitation. So, so the group of students, and then they say that, okay, we have to change a little bit of our approach. And then when the community accepted this new ideology, new education, they thought, oh, it's great. But the problem is that once exposed to new information, all of the kids in the village don't want to stay in the village anymore. They say, I want to live like the others. So they all migrate. And then it's very bad that they are very young. They are not prepared for the workplace, but they say, it's like a dream. I will go to cities, seek a new life, because that's what I see. So you see that you solve a problem. You think that you are bringing education, you are helping illuminating their mind, but then you create the migration problem. And so then the group had to rethink again, and to help these people stay in their own village, and trying to get a better education opportunity within the village. So they have to adopt a more holistic approach of not just providing some free classes and information and internet for the community.
So I guess, oh, you can go if you want to. I just had a question following that.
Go ask Karen first.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah. I guess I was interested because I like this idea of decolonizing the solution and kind of, doing this preliminary, some prior research before just, fully just going in there with a solution and thinking that you know everything about the problem when you might not. I wanted to ask, did your students ever have a sort of immersive approach to this? If they ever thought about maybe like a sociological way that they could, talk to the people one-on-one to get on.
That's exactly what we asked the students to do. So that by doing that, they realized how wrong they were, because they just the students start from reading books, right? So they read industrial report, they read the report by the United Nations and by OECD and others, and then they come. But then we tell the student empathy is extremely important. Now, don't jump into a solution until you really understand the problem and the source of the problem. So we ask the students, before thinking about profit, before thinking about business model, just focus on analyzing the problem and the root cause of the problems. And we really emphasize on the using the method of 5 why at the beginning, you know, so why, and why, and not just by asking, doing it at home, but rather go out and talk to people and really build a deep understanding through the dialogues with the community, not just the beneficiaries, but also all of the stakeholders that evolve, that work around the problems, whether they benefit or not benefit from the problems. Believe it or not, problems exist because certain elements, certain parties really benefit from the problem, and they promote the problem.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mike. Thank you so much for sharing. And that about understanding the root cause of the problems and the problems before actually jumping into trying to solve them is key into social entrepreneurship. Thank you so much for making that. And also when you talk about negative consequences of solutions or interventions, that's also a topic that is the elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about it most of the time. It's like, with my good intentions, how can it create a negative impact? It does. Many times it happens. There is this big famous example called the plane bomb from a British organization in some place in Africa, I don't remember the country exactly, that they invested loads of money to create these plate pumps where they would do put the kids to run around the merry-go-round, and then they will get some water out of it. And then, I mean, at the end of the day, kids didn't really want it because it was fun for the first 5 minutes, and then it's just like, I don't want to work on it. And they just break also the social kind of like constructed women or men or whoever who would go to get the water. They would go together to the river and walk and share their stories and things along those lines, and those was broken. And Janice wanted to mention something on top of this. I don't know if you still want to mention. Yeah, keep going on, and everyone else from the panelists, feel free to unmute and use as if you were like in a room, just sharing and talking. We still have a few minutes.
Thank you, Andres. And Faiz also wants to say something, but there are, well, talking about best practices, one way that Maitai was abording is to work with a community, but there's also the other side to be inspired of doing something. So there are different routes how you can start doing social entrepreneurship idea. Most of the time when we are in the academic area, we want the students to go to communities, learn what they are doing, research their problems, start seeing. But there's the other way also, trying to be inspired, learning not only on a community-based problem, but also there's like a exercise that I do sometimes. I say to my students or people, social entrepreneurs that I'm working on, I tell them, like, go to Google and see the news that is happening right now in your city. Like, go and check what are the first 5 problems or 5 news that you can see over there. Like, I do it 3 weeks ago, and students start saying like something about climate change, something about gender equality, things about insecurity. So there's many ways to start thinking on what you want to do, but also I think something that we forget is to encourage our students to see what are their purpose of life. Like, it's very important, because when you connect with that mission or this like kind of ikigai, like the ikigai model or something like related that you can work on. But when students start seeing that they have a purpose to do with their degree, how can they use the tools they are learning, but also their abilities, their competency that they are all the time trying to implement in the school or implement in their work. But all of that is a complement on how can you start working on an idea. So we need to encourage them to see what is their passion, what is their mission, their vision, what they want to do. Because once they connect with that part, and I told them that is the spiritual part, or also like this ideal work, but it helps them to see how they can use what they are, their own personal values, their own personal skills, with the news that we are seeing or the bad problems that we see on the news in Twitter and Facebook and all the stuff, but also like start seeing how this is connected with your city, with your state, with the global promise that we have. So if there's someone that is not inspired, or that if he goes to the community and didn't do the empathetic part, like we can help them to make a track on the other side. Like we can't forget not only making this relation, like going to community, low income community, start learning what they are doing. That's a very good way to start practicing. Sorry, my dog is barking. But it's interesting when they also see the other part, like not only making these visits and being there, it's important, but if you don't have the way to go to a community, start doing the searching, research, start learning, be inspired, connect them with some entrepreneurs that are changing the world, and let them dream about what they can do.
Right. Yeah, I agree with that. And I also kind of was looking at the Balloon Latam website by Sebastian Salinas. And I was interested because this seems to tie in a lot to your website and the promotion of communities that are protagonists of their own development. So I wanted to ask Sebastian a question of how do you identify these communities that are, trying to see their own competency and their own, protagonist identification? And then how do you help Chilean citizens from this point?
Well, the first is based, one of the things that we want to achieve is that we have a dependency of resources to get to some specific community. So there is a lot of community that will need, for example, a balloon program, but we can't go there because we have not find the resources to get there. So that's one of the main challenge that we have for the future. So when our model is a local partner that says, hey, Balloon, I want you to come here, and because our programs take at least 4 years that we live inside the community. So when we have these local partners that maybe it's a regional government, a company, a big NGO that put Balloon and based on through this social development process, when we get there, we as Janice was saying, we do as social environmental diagnostic. So we diagnostic a socio-cultural part, socio-economic, socio-political, and social environmental. And we get this map of actors in the community. And this is one very important thing for territorial intelligence, is to see who is the authorities of the community that has this informal power inside the community. That not all of the time is the major or the specific authority common that you will find. Maybe it's the guy that plays as a goalkeeper in the local team, or is the father of the church. I don't know. So with that, we get there. So we invite them to see what we're going to be doing. I invite the people to be part of this journey through these at least 4 years that we're going to be there. And we feel that development is a heterogeneous concept, so it depends on the territory. It's not a homogeneous, it's not for all the same. So beyond of that, we invite people to develop their ideas or their projects through this journey with these different programs that as Andrés participated in 2014. Here is also Santiago that participated in 2015 in another, that is the International Balloon. And through this process, the people start developing their specific project. And now we have 5,600 local projects in Chile. There are 7,200 jobs that are dependent on that work. So I don't know what is in your countries that you are based, but especially in Latin America, why we have so much social entrepreneurship is because there is an absence of the state, an absence of the government in so many things, in health, in education, in so many things, that the private sector or the NGOs movement has to take that part or solve or help to develop that part. So if you go to the poorest region here in Chile, is the region that has most amount of NGOs in the whole country. Why is that? Because there are a lot of tasks that the government cannot achieve. So appears for this social entrepreneurship movement. And so I believe that's part of the combination. I don't know if you in your field or when I give a talk, people say, but this should be doing by the government, not you should be doing as a private sector this. Okay, but it's not happening. I wait for the government to do it. We are going to continue be waiting 10, 20 years. I don't know. What do you think about that? Open question.
Right. Yeah. Thank you so much for your answer. It was very thorough and very insightful for sure. I kind of wanted to ask a question on the UNIS philosophy. If there's
stopping you, it's because Dr. Faiz raised a hand a few minutes ago. So I just wanted to give him the word. But please feel free to share the question right now because he's from the UNIS network. So he might be able to address it on the way. And I wanted to mention something about what Sebastian just said, and build on what you were saying as well of the global and local context, because he actually has a project / company called Glocart, which is a combination of global and local and focus on the local communities and helping to bring the value from local communities to anywhere in the world. So he might want to share a little bit about that later. Well, yeah, Dr. Faiz, would you like to build on the one you asked?
I'd be happy to first hear what Cornelia has to say. Please continue. I mean, I can continue later on. No
worries. I was worried that I was taking up too much time with my curiosity and questions.
No, please do ask a question, and then maybe if I can take that as well, I'll try.
Oh, sure. I think I was just trying to get a sense of how everybody was using different approaches to social entrepreneurship, and I wanted to see what the UNIS philosophy brought to the table in terms of, you talked before about having this experience of creating wealth and having entrepreneurship being something of a requirement for people to go into so that they can experience failure and success. And I wanted to learn more about that, if you could speak on it.
Right. Well, maybe we should start with the UNIS philosophy. UNIS's writings are quite popular, as you might know, and at least 2 of these books have been bestsellers. The latest one is called A World of 3 Zeros, Creating a World Free from Poverty, Unemployment, and Zero Net Carbon Emissions. I suggest everybody that's interested in the UNIS philosophy get a handle on that. It's been translated, I believe, in 14 or 15 languages. And that's my first sort of pointer to getting a, like an overview. And it's been written for young people. It's written for people who are in that stage that Yanis mentioned, that they want to do something great and they want to change the world, but they're not being able to get a handle. So please grab that book. It's great. But the UNIS philosophy basically is about changing people's lives through economic empowerment. Now, economic empowerment doesn't automatically show up. It's got to be prepared for. And there are 2 critical aspects to this. One is understanding what is good, what is useful, what is profitable, what is sustainable. That requires education, understanding, exchange, engagement. How do you do that? You build organizations, local organizations that help each other understand what priorities are. So it's called community development. And that's one of the foundations of the Grameen model. By creating organizations at the grassroots level, primarily for women, Professor Yunus was able to instigate this huge rallying of local knowledge, which created Grameen Bank. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is getting people to use tools that they will be able to leverage to get what they want. And this is basic literacy in certain countries, numeracy, skills on writing, keeping records, bookkeeping, identifying business opportunities and documenting them. So a lot of that has to do with skilling people. That was the second thing that was made part of this whole Grameen experiment, people beginning to form groups and then reducing stuff to writing. There was a manifesto. There was something that people ascribed to as part of those members. And those points are still available on net if you want to take a look at the Grameen manifesto. And the third thing, of course, every enterprise needs money. And nobody's going to lend to people who don't have collateral, right? That's the big story that Professor Yunus carries, and his success is built on. And that is where the microcredit program, the microfinance comes in. So you resource people who are aware, who know where the problems and the solutions are, who have the basic skills to be able to tackle them, and then you feed them resources which they can then optimize and change their lives. So this, in a nutshell, is 40 years of the Yunus experiment. And it's now in, 56 countries. We all understand it from different perspectives. Some of us take a look at it from perhaps a developing world context, but then there's successful Grameen programs in the US, in Europe as well, in Latin America. So that's partially to answer that. How we've done it in Bangkok and, or I should say in Thailand and the region, and now in Malaysia, is what we call building capacity for social business, which is basically what I just said, taking a prequel approach to social business, trying to get people to understand through three things that we do: engage, educate, empower. So our story is all built around first going out and engaging our primary stakeholder communities, whether they're businesses, academia, corporate sector, leaders, and communities. Then once they've engaged with the idea of self-help through social business, we build them into what we call education programs, and the culmination of which is going to be the world's first Yunus Masters in Social Entrepreneurship. And now there's going to be two. We're going to launch one in Malaysia this fall. And so from small trainings to community programs to youth exchanges, and we do one excellent youth exchange with Professor Ashir's team as well every year until COVID, of course, where people come, they have an immersive experience in the community, and they come up with social tech solutions. There's a few others that Andrés will probably mention. And then finally, empower. Empower is when you incubate them, you link them to social venture capital, you make them part of programs like Professor Mai's program. And so, so that has been our little template for success. And I'm fortunate that, we've created a number of Yunus centers, and they all seem to work on the same template. They take their different approaches, but basically the engage, educate, empower approach mimics the philosophy that Professor Yunus has implemented successfully for his Grameen work all over the world. I could go on, but then there's other stuff that I think other people definitely have to contribute.
Yes. Thank you so much for your articulate and very clear and concise response. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faiz, for sharing, Cornelia, for asking the question. And I motivate other people to bring the questions up, so people from the panelists can know what are your burning questions, what are your interests, what you want to know. We still have a little bit more than 10 minutes to close the panel up. For example, here there's a question from Alex saying, what are some models of social entrepreneurship that you think and don't work well? Which is also a great perspective on thinking what are the challenges and the difficulties of models of social entrepreneurship. What is some things that you have seen that people want to implement but they might not work, or why they don't work, or what are the future challenges to support social entrepreneurs around the world or in European context? I will dare to I don't want to put someone on the spot, but maybe Dr. Ashir, if you would like to join and share a little bit more of from this perspective, of anyone else who would like to share, feel free.
Okay, thank you. I'm not sure about social entrepreneurship that are not working well, but I can share some of our challenges, like how we are trying to solve the healthcare issues of the BOP or the base of the pyramid community. As you know that Professor Yunus has been trying to solve the problem at the BOP community, as Professor Faiz also mentioned, like how can we create wealth in the bottom of the pyramid. So Professor Yunus, he wants to see that how can we change the term from BOP to micro-entrepreneurship layer. So in order to change the micro-entrepreneurship layer, we are trying to apply technology and engage the local resources, including young people. So that's the beginning, but what kind of technology we are trying to develop in the university and apply to empower the poor people. Technology has enormous power that we believe. And the good news is we have 8 billion people in this planet. We have 8 billion mobile phones. How can we really use the power of this connectivity to provide education, to provide or to acquire knowledge from them as well, tap their knowledge as well. So one of our project, my students and we, and also we collaborate with Dr. Faiz as well, and some of the Asian countries, universities. How can we design a clinic, a portable clinic, so that, as you know, that in rural areas, we do not have clinics, but can we really kind of change the construction of a clinic and make everything in a box so that rural people can have access to them. So it's a box. Inside the box, there are a lot of diagnostic tools. And a healthcare worker, she's the micro healthcare entrepreneur. So we want to empower this lady, and she's available in the local area. She used our technology. We train them so that they can provide healthcare solutions in the rural areas. The only missing component in the rural areas is the doctor. So, but no problem, we can connect the doctor by using the connectivity, by using the mobile phone. And we apply some artificial intelligence inside the box so that it can triage people, and also it can accumulate knowledge and can make some decisions for the doctor, and the prescription can be locally printed as well. So by using this technology, we accumulate the data, we try to make some predictions so that we can reduce the cost and train the micro healthcare entrepreneur. And as you know, that Professor Yunus started a new program. It is called New Entrepreneurship Program to fund. It's not like a loan of Grameen Bank, but they provide social business fund to create micro healthcare entrepreneur. So our goal is to provide the tool, and they provide services in the community where healthcare services are not provided. So by using this, we are still in the academia, my students and we are working. How can we are listening to the problems in the local areas. It's not only about the technology. There are a lot of local stigma as well. People also have various misconceptions about healthcare. People have many some misinformation about healthcare as well. So listening to them, working together, it's a lot of fun, and trying to solve the problem in a social business way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ashir, for giving us practical examples. And I'm sure that you have been facing a lot of challenges. And I think, to complement to the answer for Alex, I don't think it's about necessarily which ones do not work, because there are many examples of social entrepreneurs who try to start and fail, like business entrepreneurs as well. I think it's about how to understand what are your challenges. First of all, as Mike said, understand what is the root cause of the problems, and then try to figure out ways to solve it. And maybe some of those ways don't work because you kind of iterate the prototype or validate the prototype. So the faster you learn what works and what doesn't, then you can adapt your solution to the local context and your clients or your customers or your beneficiaries. And then Janice said I wanted to add something on top of it.
Yeah, I wanted to add, but it's also important the team that you have. I think when you have a great team that wants to collaborate, that has the same values that empathize with the problem you are going to abort. And if they also get in love, not from the idea, we always say like, don't get in love with the idea, get in love with the problem, but that's also kind of a little bit of bullshit, sorry for the word, but it's not only to get in love from the problem, I think it's to get in love from the ecosystem, the way how you can connect, how you can find stakeholders, and also the theme that you're creating. It's really important to visualize that you need to have people to be in love with what you want to work, not only the idea of the project that you want to create, but the idea to make the change. I think that's very important. I remember when I started the journey, I tried to sell how can the profile of my classmates can add to the problem that we wanted to abort. So it was kind of interesting. Many people come to me and ask me, like, how can you create a very high impact project, and how did you made it? It's like, I didn't do something different from many entrepreneurs. I think entrepreneurs know how to connect, and they know how to start working, and they have the passion to start doing something. And that's the thing, that you need to have the passion to know that it's going to be sacrifices, that you know that it's going to be time that probably you want to have in a party, or that probably you're going to be missing some family reunions. But that's the thing that you need to know, that your team also wants to work with you, and not only to do the sacrifice, because sacrifice is a like kind of most of the time, like I don't know how to say in English, I'm sorry, I'm thinking in Spanish, but it's kind of like something bad, like when you see that I'm going to do sacrifice to work with it. No, it's something good. Like right now I'm having like a transition in my life, in my professional life, and I remember 12 years ago I was working with this idea, and the university helped me a lot, and the dean that was like over there, now it's my chief, and now also he's taking me out where I'm working and making me the possibility to work in another place. But that's the thing, like you need to see that there's more, and that's only a project, that you need to start learning that you can connect, that you can make this part of your family. I have never seen my Thai, but I know that I can write her and ask her something, or kind to connect something, and she's gonna answer. Or to Dr. Faiz, like I can tell him and send him some WhatsApps in the middle of the night, and I know he's going to read them, and he's going to pay attention for what I'm leaving, and vice versa. I know that maybe when you are kind of working on this and trying to see which model, how I'm going to make money, I need funding, and it's more about the funding and the economy or the money. It's more about with whom you are working, which is your family, what is the family you are creating, and that's the way that you can start working on doing this a reality, to see that change is possible, because you will have people that will help you to continue your pathway.
Great. Thank you so much, Janice, for sharing about how important is the people and understanding deeply the context and situation. And also on top of that, Dr. Faiz have sent me directly a message that I thought he might wanted to share with the whole group. Maybe there was a small kind of misunderstanding that of the technology, but no worries. We are here to help. So I don't know if Dr. Faiz wanted to elaborate on this, maybe, or you want me to read it out loud?
You mean the question, the answer? I attempted a short answer to Alex's question, but I didn't want to post it in the group, because then everybody would start reading it and not listen to what Janice was saying. So I sent it to you instead, so that whenever it's appropriate, you can pop it over to everybody. So it was not a mistake this time, but yeah, so that's great. Well, no, I think these points are all made extremely well. And since we're talking about good practices, good examples, and things that we can learn from eventually to perhaps contextualize to the US entrepreneurial environment, particularly in Oregon, I do understand that Oregon itself is quite understood to be a very entrepreneurial place. So I think it's a great audience to have. We don't really have boilerplates, although I did indicate that there were some fundamentals that we all look at and get inspired by from Professor Yunus. But one thing in all my sort of teaching experience, and I've shared this with Maya and Ashir, and of course you know this as well, Yanis, that one thing we don't emphasize on often enough and significantly enough is coping with failure in business. And I wanted to throw that in there as a kind of a little reminder to all of us that this whole hype that we have created around social innovation and incubation and patient or angel funding and all sends this, relatively speaking, erroneous message to a lot of young entrepreneurs that if we go do it by the numbers like these guys are telling us, and if we pitch it right and we get what we need to make our investment work, we will succeed. And that, I think, is something we need to emphasize, that there is no guarantee. You can do it just absolutely 100% right in terms of setting up a business idea, pitching it to people, even getting money to run it. But eventually, the market is what takes over. Businesses do not succeed because they're excellent ideas. Yes, of course, it's a major factor. They succeed because the market supports that. The value exchange is valid. And the benefits that a business is perceived to project to community or society are seen to be worth spending money on. So because a lot of us don't advert to it automatically, I think there's a room for us in all our capacity building programs to focus on how important and how big failure is to businesses and how important it is to risk manage your business to the extent that it's possible. I think that was a bit of an aside, but I thought I was going to come up eventually. The other thing that we also perhaps don't teach enough or discuss enough is we seem to conflate development with enterprise. The two theoretical constructs are different. And the way they have been practiced in the last at least 350, 400 years have diverged significantly. Development is about a selective identification and creating a helpline for people that you want to help. It's something that you do it for yourself, or the funder or supporter or the benefactor does it for somebody else. That is development. And that's also been one of the major criticisms of the way we've practiced development in the last 50 years, that it doesn't often take into account what people actually need or want. It's what other people want to spend on. Whereas business is when you do it for others. By design, a business hits the market because it's pressing the right buttons for others. So this conflation of doing development because we wanted to do it and it'll make us feel good or whatever, and doing business which is for others so that they will buy our product and make everybody's life more sustainable, are two diverging streams of thought. Social business attempts to bring them together. If you look at the diagram that Farah showed to us in the beginning, the middle circles is where the philanthropic element or the development element and the hard business element come together. You do philosophy of development by not taking a dividend, by voluntarily suspending your right as an investor to take the money that technically belongs to you and invest it back into a community service, good, or product. That's the philanthropy bit. But on the other hand, the business has to be market savvy. The business has to succeed in a competitive marketplace. So what Professor Yunus has done is he's taken the heart of philanthropy and development and the soul of business and put them together in something that will churn, create wealth, and solve social problems, that as long as the market sustains and supports them. And finally, I think this conflation also creates a kind of a numbness towards what a customer is. We've always used the word customer with a bit of disdain in development. Oh, customer is a bad term. It's or clients or customers. We call them partners, we call them beneficiaries, we call them whatever. But the fact is, a business does not have partners. A business has clients. And we have to shift this idea of the whole thing. And it's not bad having clients, because business is the oldest profession actually in the world. Even the oldest profession is a business. So what we want to do is get this mindset shift coming, where it's okay to do business, provided it's not extortionist, it's not predatory, it's not cannibalistic. It's the only way society knows how to create wealth. So it should be dignified to the level at which doing business should be the highest form of social service. So again, that's a bit of a pitch, but I wanted to leave you with this because I'm sure I'm not going to be getting in this conversation again. I've taken more than my time. But please give all these points a bit of a consideration. And I hope there'll be more opportunities to expand more. Final pitch, our master's program is open. And Parra is going to share the link. Do consider that, share it around. We also have a new program in which, in Malaysia particularly, we're considering we do 2 for the price of 1. So if you can afford a master's, we'll give you a half discounts to somebody else who can't afford it, can join it with you, and you can pair up as social business entrepreneurship students and maybe create a business together. That's it. Thank you so much, Parra, for bearing with me for this long.
Thank you so much, Dr. Faiz, for sharing your wisdom with us. On that note, I would like to ask every of the other panelists to share a last few words to close the panel before we pass by to the young people to share the conclusion, and then we try to finish in sharp as much as possible. Feel free.
Okay, I think I'm gonna jump in. I think for closing, it's good to see the social entrepreneurship is not something that you can add in your life. Like it's a degree, it's a career. It's something that you can do it a professional pathway and work for it and earn money for that. And I think that's the best thing to know. Like start seeing a social entrepreneurship not something like you can complement in your life, but do it like in your first line and see that there's a chance and there's a lot of opportunities now, and that we need to continue sharing that there are opportunities to explore, to impact, to know people in the whole world. And probably there are different concepts in this social entrepreneurship, social innovation, social business ecosystem. Now, like in the Francesco Economy Network, they have also like new words, but it's all in the same way, that we are all the people are looking how to change the world. And if we make this not only for something that is creating good and that you are a good person because you're doing social entrepreneurship pathway, it's more like, it's like if you're doing a business administration degree, it's something like you can do it and go for it and start joining networks. I think the best thing to do, and Parra and I, like we have been in 10 years in the same network, but now we are in other networks, and then we can connect people in the whole world. And that's amazing. Like I know that there's people doing similar things in Thailand or similar things in Bangladesh, and I now have the opportunity to do that connection that 12 years ago I didn't have. Like I didn't have the tools. Right now it's easier, and we can have these Zooms and we can have these reunions in different parts of the world and join together and share our learnings and share best practices and do it part of our daily basis day. So that's the thing I want to do to close, and open to continue the conversation in other time, other place, or other hour.
Can we have another panelist sharing the last thoughts just to close things out?
So, well, thank you for all you have shared. I have been written down so many things, and also I believe that I have an aha moment here by listening to you. I believe that most of the time people ask that social entrepreneurship of the concepts are complex, but people don't understand what do you mean for this. what kind of capitalism is this, or what do you, or you are a enterprise, or you are a 100% foundation. So why you have to pay good salaries, or why you have to pay good conditions? I believe is a main challenge that we have, especially in social entrepreneurship, in social business, that we face the cultural thing to change the mindset. Why a soccer player has to earn a big salary, but people that are in and that no one argument that that's not good. But in a social entrepreneurship or social business, if you have, I don't know, a good salary, you say, why? But this is social. Why do you can do that? Why are the conditions? Or you go to the office that we have in Balloon, or the conditions that people have to so much benefits. But this is social. Why? That kind of concept, I believe, is some of the challenge or task that people that are facing academia and also based also in the field with social entrepreneurship has to put in front. But I believe that we don't need just the people that has vocational work or vocational passion for social things. We need the best talent in the most urgent problems on this. And that's something that we have to compete also with the other kind of, if I can make it, industries. So I believe it's something that also, I don't know if everyone is agree, but it's something that also getting what you were saying, these businesses that are not, was starting a very good way, but don't end in a very good one. I believe that those examples also, we have to share it more, because it's not that they do it bad. Because of that experience, the other ones that are going to come are going to have more experience to do it in a better way. So it's not failure, it's one step. So thank you for everyone for the time, Andrés, for inviting me, and hope to see you in another webinar or another space.
Dr. Mai, would you like to continue?
Yeah. So the panel has been very, very interesting, and we need to continue the conversation, and we need to remind ourselves also about our practice. And as we are going out in the field, and we are also teaching students, so it's always good time to meet, well, like yearly, in order to share our best practices and what we have learned through our work. And well, if you are available, I'd like to invite you to our conference, which will be from the 15th to 20th in Montreal and online. So 15 and 16 are for oriented toward businesses, and the 19 and 20 are oriented toward academics, where we have a lot of workshops. So it's not just about sharing, but also we have the workshops to help people improve their skills. So Andre, may I send the program here in the chat, or
Yes, feel free.
is it okay? Oh yeah, then people can always, you can always go to our website for our program. So let me send you here. And as you are our very close circle, I would like to offer you a discount, so to join our program. So please write to me so that I can send you the discount code. And then we have really a very interesting panel of experts from around the world that come to share with the participants the great work they have done. And we also have the roundtable discussions. And so here in the chat, you will see the program directly. Yeah, I really hope that you will join us. So my email is my.thai@hec.ca. But you can also apply for the discount code by going directly to the conference. But I know that you are already part of the program with Andre, so you can write directly to me. Andre is coming to Canada too. So I really hope to see you either physically in Montreal or online. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mai. Thank you for the invitation. Thank you for the discount. And I think the people are like, okay, I stay a few minutes more for closing the panel. Okay, I got a coupon to join the conference. And even if you cannot go to Canada, then you can join online join online the conference. So the discount is still applicable. So last one, Dr. Shear, and then we give the summary with Hukari, and then we kind of finish very quickly.
Thank you. It was good learning from everyone. Thank you very much for the questions and answers. I loved it. So we will continue to collaborate. Please keep in touch. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Asher. Thank you, Dr. Asher. And something I really appreciate to try to do is like to give the platform, especially global platform or bigger platform, to young people to kind of like stand out and start kind of like building up. And then Hukari is a social entrepreneur from my hometown, from Veracruz. She went to social business creation with Dr. Mai last year in Montreal, and now she's coming again in the leadership program this year. So she was taking a lot of notes and conclusions for this panel. So in 60 seconds, Hukari, if you can share what are your main takeaways, your main conclusions, and how can this be relevant for your context in Veracruz, in Mexico?
Hi, Andrés. Thank you for the invitation. I don't have a presentation. It's like it's not a resume. It's like a feeling. So it's an honor to be here with you. And today I'm gonna introduce myself. And I'm Yukari Won. I'm a student of Universidad Veracruzana and here in Mexico. And I'm entrepreneur. So the last year I go to Montreal, Canada, and I have the opportunity to present my social project of sustainable advertising, actually in the program of social business creation with Professor Mai. And now I'm working together with Andrés in his foundation. So the only thing that I want to say now is say thank you to all the panelists. Your knowledge means a lot to us. And I'm sure that here all this experience is gonna help to motivate to us to create a social impact. So can I say that being a social entrepreneur is more that make money? Obviously, we need to make money, but doing in a sustainable way. So I know that I'm very young, but I have a little experience. And thanks to Dr. Mike and SBC program, and I can say that be a social entrepreneur is not easy. But now the world is changing and the way of doing business too. And we have to accept this challenge. And the only thing I want to say that I'm very happy to do it. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you so much for Hukari for that. I really appreciate your passion, and young people kind of like come in and they will be the next decision makers of the world. And I want to close. The last thing I want to do is close with this quote and make a favor. So this is a quote from Professor Muhammad Yunus, and he really believes that when humans create something in their mind and they put something and they believe they can do it, then people will be able to do it. And that's why they create social fictions, and then they can create that in the near future, like science fictions. And the last thing is a favor for Brenda Villegas from Ashoka, who couldn't make it today for an emergency, but she has done an amazing, great job in Ashoka for the last 10 years. But she referred me to a young change maker from Monterrey who now is in Kansas in the United States. He has also a social enterprise. This is 120 seconds and just sharing his case as a social entrepreneur.
According to the United Nations, there are more than 57 million children of primary school age who are still out of school. Hi, my name is Eduardo Munguia, and in 2018, I decided to found LEDS, which emerged from identifying a problem that contributed to poverty, delinquency, and lack of opportunities from an early age. Therefore, LEDS established as its primary objective to prevent a school dropout in vulnerable areas. At the same time, it seeks to provide inclusive and quality education for all and contribute to the formation of agents of change committed to the world and their community. LEDS is also committed to fulfilling Sustainable Development Goals 1, 4, and 10, where it seeks to contribute to eradicating poverty in all forms, reduce inequalities in and between countries, and ensure lifelong learning opportunities for all. Fortunately, to date, and thanks to the support that Ashoka has given us to train us in our impact strategies, we have had the opportunity to work with more than 500 young people through different initiatives, where we have encouraged the development of skills such as teamwork, leadership, emotional intelligence, conflict resolution, among others, showing that these initiatives reflect our main objective and commitment to contribute in the best way possible to the optimal and complete development of those young people who need it the most. Thanks for your time, and I hope you have a great day.
Eduardo is here in the room too, so he might send his contact information if you want to connect with them. And I pass.
According to the United Nations, there are more than 50.
Yeah, and I appreciate the presence of Marika, who was here, and Bill, and Aloy, and Dan, and Pasita, who also was here, and everyone who made time to come here and join the community, and hopefully we'll be able to share the link of the recording with all the other community members and the panelists, so they can spread the word around how to use social business and social entrepreneurship models to solve human and environmental problems in Portland, in Oregon, in the US, and in the world. So thank you, Alex, for the opportunity to be here. It's been a pleasure to collaborate with OEN, and I really see that you guys care so deeply about supporting entrepreneurs who are making amazing change here in Portland, in Southeast Washington, and beyond that. So thank you for having me for this month, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Andrés, and have a good night, everyone. Appreciate, or good evening or morning to all those of you in other countries. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.